Today I'm going to talk about the childhood wounds that you might still have and also your twin flame can have, and how the mirror neurons that's in your nervous system can really influence the way you see yourself, you see your partner, and also the way you behave. And the reason I'm creating this video is that I really want to give you some guidelines to hear yourself and also your relationship. This video is based on interpersonal neurobiology and the work of Dr. Dan Siegel. And I am a huge fan of him. If you have time, I highly recommend you to look him up on YouTube or even do some of his courses. I believe that his work is absolutely phenomenal because he really digs into so many different fields, psychology, neurobiology, neuroscience, and he really focuses on child development and especially the attachment, which is the basis of a twin flame relationship, because a twin flame relationship is an attachment. And today I'm just going to talk about it very quickly so you can understand how you can be traumatized, even being overtly or directly traumatized. So your mirror neurons are also, you can imagine them as a sponge, that they soak everything in, and you can really sense the caretaker's internal experiences. So you can imagine yourself as when you go through certain parts of a developmental journey, certain parts of your awareness system or nervous system is going to be more sensitive. So basically, you feel that the most. So maybe your caretaker is not even aware of that part, but as a child you are, because that part is the most dominant within you. So you read the person in a very different way than how they see themselves. So what that means is that the child is very sensitive of the intentions of the caretaker. So maybe the parent is not so good or makes mistakes, but if the motivation behind it is positive, the child is able to sense that it was an honest mistake and it doesn't create a wound. But there are, of course, different varieties, and this is what I'm going to talk about because we are talking about trauma that can really have a negative imprint in the child. So I'm going to start with the twin flame runner, that they are the avoidant in the attachment type. And what happened to them when they were little children, they felt that their caretaker wasn't interested in them, that they felt that my attachment figure doesn't want to know me. He or she doesn't have intention to know who I am within. And this creates this internal perception or internal monologue that is maybe not even conscious in them. Because when we are children, we don't have this head part fully developed yet. So we take everything very personally. That the conclusion is that maybe there is nobody there to know. And because the parent doesn't have the intention to get to know the child, so it can be as maybe the child cries or wants to play, or you can think of like when many times children are in rage, but the rage is in reality, they want the attention of the caretaker. They want to do anything. So they do all of these mind tricks to get the attention, to get the connection with the caretaker. But the caretaker neglects them or maybe even punishes them, that go stand in the corner, leave me alone, blah. It doesn't really matter, but the child feels that there is no connection with the caretaker. So they think, or they don't really look inward because the caretaker didn't teach them to, okay, how do you feel? What's wrong? Tell me what bothers me. So they don't even look into that part. And what happens is when they grow up, this ability to look inward doesn't develop. So they feel this deep sense of emptiness. And for the very, very same reason, they are unable to really understand your internal experiences as a twin flame chaser, your rage, your outburst, your overly emotional part, because they don't have this ability. They weren't taught how to do that. That's why they cannot relate to you. It's like, I don't understand what is happening. But in reality, they couldn't understand this either because it's coming from this parenting part. And these people, when they grow up, they really focus on one aspect of life. They are really, really external focused. What is measurable? What is seen? Because that's the external word. How many cars I have, how desirable my partner is, how much money I have in the bank. And that is their pure or solely focus, because again, the emotional part was valued as unvaluable when they were children, and they carry this trauma with it into their adulthood as well. And the reason I'm saying this, if you are a chaser, that you can understand that the way your twin flame runner behaves is not personal. They don't have the ability to relate to you as much as you would need it. So you have the option of explaining what you would want, what you desire. You try to communicate in their level or in the way they would understand. But you also have to understand that if the person stays this way and they don't see that there is something wrong with them, that the way they interact in a relationship is not enough in a relationship, because the relationship needs this subjective part as well, that they can connect on an emotional level as well. Then you have to realize as the chaser that you have to be able to leave the relationship because it's not healthy for you in the long term. And this is where you have to recognize the true meaning of a twin flame relationship, that it's not about a fairy tale romance, it's about awakening you, make you self-aware of things that you haven't seen before. Because just as much as your opposite, your twin flame runner, has wounds and cannot see things clearly, you have exactly the same, and that's why you attract each other. Whatever is missing from you and repressed within you, it's expressed in your twin flame runner overly, and it is true vice versa. And now I'm going to explain the chaser so you can understand yourself, that when your mother was pregnant with you, and also when you were growing up, either she was naturally more anxious or emotionally charged up, or maybe the relationship, maybe you are the youngest child. It's very common with the youngest child that by the time the relationship is broken down and there is a lot of fighting in the relationship. So when you are crying for food as a little child, you are crying because you are hungry, but you can sense your mirror neurons, that sponge can soak in the mother's internal experiences, that she is full of anxiety, and maybe the anxiety is coming from that she doubts herself that she can be a good mother. So it can be something you don't know what it is, but now the feeling of hunger that is coming from your nervous system is actually connected with this other emotion as well, with this anxiety, with this overcharge, and it's neurologically connected now. So these two feelings are present at once, and you really feel confusion because there is this overcharge in the body. And that's exactly what you also have when you are an adult, that you have so many emotions, conflicting emotions. I love you, I hate you, and you go through these cycles. Your nervous system is really, really overcharged, but it really wants to show you that you have to be able to connect to your head more, to work through these wounds, because when you see yourself clearer, when you understand yourself clearer, that can help you calm your nervous system down. And I really want to point out that it's not only the mother, it can really add to another thing to it, because generally it's coming from the relationship with the opposite gender parents. If you are a girl and your father wasn't there, that also triggers your nervous system, because when we are in that attachment phase around at age 2, 3, and then later on, we want the other person to be close to us, and we don't understand why that doesn't happen, and we get into this separation anxiety, that I want you to be close to me, I want you to love me, but you don't get that. So your nervous system is crying for this, but it becomes really, really dysregulated because you don't understand, because you don't have this part active yet, what is happening. So this is what creates this overly anxious, overly emotional way of seeing reality in the chaser. And what your reunion is in reality, that you have the runner who is too connected to this head part, who cannot connect to this emotional part. And you have the opposite of that, the chaser, who is too connected to this emotional part, but is not enoughly connected to the head part. And that's why you attract each other, because this is how your nervous system tries to tell you, tries to show you what is missing from you, and tries to really get back to this healthier state where you have a healthy body-mind, mind-to-body connection. I hope this video was helpful for you, and see you in my next video.